time in Dollywood. Hopefully you enjoyed that video. And now we are going just a few miles away from Pigeon Forge, where we've been staying, to the Great Smoky Mountains National Park. So we're just headed into the park right now, and we're going to do a little bit of hiking, and hopefully we will still catch some fall colors. In the Great Smoky Mountains now, and we went to the visitor center, got the Junior Ranger book, which this is the first national park I've ever been to that charged for a Junior Ranger book, but I think that's due to the number of visitors they get and the fact that they can't charge an entrance fee. Now we are going to Cataract Falls. Smoky Mountains National Park most of the day. We've done a couple of little hikes, and we tried to do another hike, but the parking lot was completely full. That's one thing that you have to deal with in the Great Smoky Mountains, because it is the most visited national park by a lot in the US. It really has a lot of people, even though we are here on a Tuesday at the end of fall, middle fall, I guess it's the middle of fall. Anyway, there's no reason for it to be extra busy. It just is busy all the time. And so we tried to do a hike after a drive, but it was not possible to find parking for that hike. But we've been having a good time doing some Junior Ranger. We've been having a good time most of the time. Turns out when you travel with kids, you don't get to have a good time all the time, but we're making it. And now we are headed off to find the Motor Nature Trail to do a little drive and see if anybody sleeps while we're doing it. Up at the Great Smoky Mountains National Park, and there's actually a downtown Flavortown by Guy that is here in Pigeon Forge, and you know we always go to restaurants Guy goes to when we're out traveling, so of course we weren't going to miss a chance to do this. So we're here at Flavortown now. I'm going to eat some food here before we go down to the island, which is a little like mall area here in Pigeon Forge. again, Yellow Van fans. We are headed back into the Great Smoky Mountains National Park today, hoping to do a hike this morning if we can find parking, and then maybe drive some of the Blue Ridge Parkway later in North Carolina. We have been driving along the Roaring Fork Nature Motor Road, and we've got to the Baskin Creek Trailhead, and now we are hiking to Baskin Falls. It is really, really beautiful out here. At the Baskin Falls Trail, Baskin Creek Trail, and that was a lot of fun, but it was a pretty hard trail. It ended up being almost 4 miles according to what we had on our watches, even though it said about 3 miles in what we read online. So it was probably the hardest trail we've ever done, but it was really, really pretty. And now we are finishing up the drive here, and we're stopping at some of the historic cabins here. There are hundreds of historic buildings located within Great Smoky Mountains National Park, so we're just stopping to see some of those. Morning again, Yellow Van fans. We are here our last day in Pigeon Forge. We head back to Nashville tonight, so we're going to just go around Pigeon Forge a little bit, do a little shopping. We're about to walk through a shark's mouth into a gift shop. This is a very, very touristy, chitsy kind of place, so we're going to go see what they have here. Okay, so we went to the touristy shop, then we went to the Christmas shop, which is like this giant shop dedicated to Christmas. Now we've just arrived at Frizzle Frazzle Chicken to get some lunch. This is a store that, the restaurant that's kind of set up like a barn, and there are animatronic chickens here. So you never know what you're going to find here in Pigeon Forge.
What are those? Are those chickens?
What does the chicken say?
That one's singing.
Now to catch our plane, so we're going to close out this Great Smoky Mountains vlog and just talk a little bit about what we thought of Great Smoky Mountains National Park. So what did you think of it, Megan?
It was beautiful. I'm glad we went in the fall.
That's the time to go, right?
Yeah, because I think it was less busy than it probably is in the summer. It was still busy for sure.
Still
but,
very busy.
But I didn't feel like it was like overwhelmingly busy like we've had at like Zion or Yellowstone.
Yeah.
So it wasn't nearly as busy as I'm sure it is in the summertime. And
But we weren't there on a weekend.
We weren't there on a weekend. That's true. But the colors were awesome.
Yeah. We were slightly off peak color, probably a week.
About a week, yeah.
Or in some areas, maybe 2 or 3 weeks, depending on where we were.
But a lot of the areas still had full fall color, especially at the beginning of our week.
Yeah. So, and that was down in the Sugarland area where we had more of the fall color. And then as we kind of climbed up higher towards the Newfound Gap, but we lost a lot of color there. But yes, fall is a great time to come, but I am sure that during the absolute peak of the color, it is crazy.
Yeah.
So one thing that I don't know if I mentioned in the vlog earlier, but Great Smoky Mountains is the most visited national park by far, and so it is busy always. Basically, like, it's always busy by millions of visitors. Most busy of the national parks. Just be prepared for that. I think that we were kind of prepared for that. But there were definitely places, like I said, where we couldn't get a parking spot to do a hike, so we had to adjust our plans. And that's just kind of the reality of visiting national parks at all anymore, but especially this one. So it was really awesome, though. It's very different than parks that we've been to in other places because it's more woodsy, more trees, less rocks.
It's not a desert.
And it's not in the desert.
And it's not in the Rocky Mountains.
So, yeah, so a different vibe. But so much fun.
Well, and I thought it was funny too. Like they talk about their highest point in the park and how it's like super cool and really high, and it's about the same elevation that we are from. And so it's just funny to see. It was just funny, for them to see like this is such a high point, which I mean it is. Like we didn't get to actually park there and go up and like to the tower and to the viewing area and see it, but we definitely felt it as we were driving. But I just thought that was funny that, it made hiking significantly easier.
Yeah.
For us at least.
To be at a lower elevation. It's like what did they call it when you do the training?
Altitude training.
Yeah, it's like we'd altitude train for it because we're always at such high altitude in Utah and do our hiking so much higher that it was like, wow, it's easy to breathe down here.
Well, and the hike that we did do, the big hike that we did, was the longest hike that we've done as a family.
Yep.
And did have, I checked my watch and there was 1,000 feet of elevation change.
Yeah.
And normally that's way too much elevation change for me and I just won't even do it. But here, I could actually breathe the whole time. It was hard, but I could breathe the whole time.
Plus, we didn't know when we got into it how much it would be. So that was the Basking Creek. So we did that one, and the other hike that we did was Cataract Falls. So both of them had waterfalls. There are a lot of waterfalls in the park. We only went to see 2 of them, but they were both good hikes. But that Basking Creek one, for us, with our kids and the equipment that we had or didn't have. We didn't have our hiking backpack. We had kind of the travel baby carrier. But with that equipment, we didn't have hiking poles for Megan, which she normally has. So it made it a little bit more difficult. But the elevation being at lower elevation probably canceled that out for us. And it was really, really pretty. Just really great fall colors. The waterfall was pretty. We really enjoyed that. And the other people that were doing that hike didn't seem to be having as much trouble, because they didn't have children. So I think if you are just going with grown-ups, that hike is pretty easy. And that is on the, what was it called?
The Motor Nature Trail.
Yeah, the Motor Nature Trail, which you have to go through Gatlinburg to get to. But that was probably the prettiest drive we did.
So that was my favorite thing that we did, I think, was that drive. We did it twice.
That was gorgeous. The leaves were so good. And yes, there were 2 bears that we saw the first time that we did that drive. 2 bears, little black bears, and we were in our car when we saw them. We didn't see any bears when we were out walking, but people did. They said there was like 2 bears per square mile in the Smokies, so it's a high concentration of bears. You're likely to see one. So yeah, and then we drove down to the North Carolina side just to see what it was like over there. Did a few miles on the Blue Ridge Parkway, not too much, and that was pretty much it. We did some visiting of the historic cabins, and it was really cool, really pretty, and I can see why lots and lots of people go there, and we would recommend it, but of course just know that it is really crowded. We stayed in Pigeon Forge because we were going to Dollywood. If you haven't seen that vlog, go out and check out the Dollywood vlog too, but we were staying in Pigeon Forge, and that was probably a 15-minute drive to the park.
Yeah, about 15.
They have a bypass so that you can get around Gatlinburg, which is the town closest to Great Smoky Mountains on the Tennessee side. And you do want to bypass that because traffic gets really bad in Pigeon Forge and Gatlinburg.
Especially Gatlinburg.
Yeah.
Is worse.
Because it's much smaller roads. It's like a 2-lane street. Well, I guess it's 2 lanes each side.
Yeah.
But Gatlinburg was significantly more expensive to stay in, which is why we ended up in Pigeon Forge and not Gatlinburg. It's just a lot more economical to stay in Pigeon Forge. Gatlinburg had a better vibe though. If you saw the other vlog, we talked about Pigeon Forge's vibe is super touristy, and Gatlinburg is like a little bit above normal touristy. Classy touristy, you'd say?
Yeah.
I'd say
mountain tourist.
Yeah, it's a little bit more touristy than some gateway communities are, because there is like a roller coaster in the middle of town, which is interesting. But not at Pigeon Forge's level. So it's a little bit nicer, but traffic is a little bit worse, and it's a lot more expensive to stay there. So it depends on what you're doing and what your budget is, which place you'll want to stay in.
You definitely feel like you're more in the mountains in Gatlinburg than you do in Pigeon Forge.
Yes, yeah, it's more mountainous there because you're right up against the Smokies. So Lucy did the Junior Ranger program in Great Smoky Mountains National Park like she does everywhere. This is, I think, the only time that we've ever had to pay for a Junior Ranger book. So I think that has to do with just volume of visitors that they get. They have so many more people that they need to charge, and they can't charge an entrance fee, so they have to make money other places because they aren't allowed to charge an entrance fee, and most national parks get somewhere around half their budget from entrance fees. So I think that has a lot to do with it. So it was $250 for the book. They don't charge you separate for the badge. Once you earn the badge, you get that from the ranger. And but they were completely out of books in Lucy's age group, so we needed to do the next book up, which worked out fine for Lucy. She's a very experienced junior ranger. She's done, I don't know, a lot, like more than 20 probably, junior ranger programs between national parks and national monuments. And so she was able to do it with our help, the older one, but I think that they just have trouble keeping them in stock just with the number of people that they have. But it was fun for her to do. She really enjoyed that. So after we finished in the national park, then today, our last day here, we went to that farm place that you saw where we saw the deer, and we talked a little bit about that earlier. But we also went to get lunch. It was actually breakfast food, but it was for lunch at the Frizzle Chicken Farmhouse Cafe. And that was a lot of fun. There were animatronic chickens everywhere, which you probably saw in the video. And Lucy and Isla both just loved it. Isla was asleep when we first went in. When she woke up, she was very amazed to see all of the chickens around there. And the food was good. I had chicken and waffles. You had seasonal pumpkin
waffles or
pancakes, which were really, really rich.
Yeah.
Too rich for me.
Lucy had the bear cakes,
which is the kids' meal on the breakfast menu, and she loved that.
And they do serve breakfast. They do serve breakfast and lunch during their hours. They're open from 7 to 1.
Yep.
And I think the chickens sing every 25 or 30 minutes.
Seemed like 30 minutes.
Yeah.
Because we heard them twice, and we were there for an hour.
About an hour. And I thought their food was reasonably priced.
For Pigeon Forge? Yeah, for Pigeon Forge.
Even not for Pigeon Forge, if you're going out like for brunch.
Yeah.
I thought it was pretty reasonable. Yep. Most of their breakfast dishes were around $8.
Yep.
I think their lunch dishes were around $13. I don't think there was anything that was more than like $15 or $16.
Yeah, so it's probably slightly more expensive than Mel's, the place that we ate last night.
Yeah.
Mel's Diner, which was also really good food and reasonably priced. So you kind of have to look around in Pigeon Forge for the reasonably priced stuff, but it's there. And yeah. Anything else to say about this trip?
I wish we had had a little bit more time at the other visitor center, the North Carolina side visitor center.
Oh yeah,
Looked
that
like
one
it was
seemed,
really cool.
That one seemed like it was a little bit. So the visitor center over by Cherokee, North Carolina, that one seemed like it was maybe even a little bit better than the Sugarland one, and had some exhibits. We got there like right before they closed, so we didn't have a lot of time to see that. And they had some historical buildings and stuff right there at the visitor center site, and that's also where the elk are. So if you want to see the elk, that's where you need to go, is to that North Carolina visitor center.
Well, and especially now, like we were there in October, and that's their big mating season, and so they're really active in that area at this time of year.
Yep, and they said that the elk are a reintroduction, so there were no elk in the Smokies for a long time, and they've been reintroduced fairly recently and are building the herd there. So I think we would say that coming to the Great Smoky Mountains is definitely a great thing to do. Like, the national park is great. You know, if you already saw the Dollywood vlog, we love that. And it's just a great vibe here. And we were here, like we said, in the fall, which probably makes it even better.
It up even more.
I think that for a fall trip, you can't beat this area. It was so good. I really, really enjoyed it.
I don't know if I would have enjoyed it as much if it wasn't fall.
Yeah.
I think like the colors made it extra fun and extra special.
For me, that was a huge part of coming here.
Yeah.
Was to be able to see the fall colors, and we hope that we would make it. You can never judge that exact, but we got pretty good and worked out very well for us. Okay, that's it. Go visit Great Smoky Mountains.